So yeah, it's been a little bit. I got COVID. So I haven't been able to make videos very well. And yeah, the past few days have been pretty rough, and it's really sucked since I've wanted to make videos for you guys because quite a lot has been going down. We got the patch on Monday, which nerfed the Archnemesis defensive modifiers. And then on Tuesday, we got an overview of the upcoming changes, which is this little post here. People were a little worried. They were a little upset that maybe GGG had stopped listening. They always will eventually abandon the league, but it sounds like they are looking on still making some changes. You know, this was a few days ago. I'm not going to read through the whole thing for you guys right now, but generally they're making everything a little bit better. The notable thing to me here is they are limiting the number of Archnemesis mods that can spawn on certain rare monsters. I think that that will be very nice. I am still in what I'm calling fun core, softcore trade. Honestly, Archnemesis in hardcore solo self-found is particularly unfun. The risk of randomly running into some monsters that can just one-shot me honestly turns me off quite a bit. So I'm just having a lot of fun working on a cool new build, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. Other thing that happened is yesterday we did get the 3.19G patch. A lot of this is just like the follow-up consequences of the post that came out on Tuesday. They're working through this stuff really, really quickly. Lightning Mirages are not going to be spawning on your character or as quickly anymore. Spark and Lightning Strike shouldn't be totally nullified by a couple pebbles on the ground. Lore and Lake of Kalanja is a little bit better. The big notable one here is that Galvanic Field was not scaling with shock effect. Captain Lance put out a video a few days ago saying, is this bugged? This doesn't feel right. And yeah, the whole way that Galvanic Field works is very similarly to Lightning Conduit. It does more damage based on how shocked the enemy is, and it was not doing that. So Galvanic Field was doing like pretty god-awful damage, and with these changes, it's now going to do decent damage. Fixed a bug where Ghost Reaver could apply 50% less recharge to life when allocated with Eternal Youth. Fixed the bugs where the tentacles in Eater of Worlds could be invisible or deal delayed damage. That's really good. That's definitely killed me quite a number of times. And then a few other more minor bugs. So yeah, that's the changes in the past week for the game. The great news, I think, is that they are still working on it. Is this enough to bring people back? Is it at least enough to get the game in a good enough place so people will play in 3.20? We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But I do have good news is I want to show you guys very quickly here what I've been working on the past few days. Besides being passed out in fits of coughing, I've been working on a Lightning Conduit with Castwell channeling build. So interesting thing about Lightning Conduit, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. This is just a quick little preview. There will be a full video about this build when I'm done with it, either as a recommendation or as a disrecommendation. Basic idea is that Lightning Conduit, you want to shock the enemy, whether it's through using Necromancer and Corpses or attacking it with Arc or whatever, and then you cast Lightning Conduit as a secondary spell, which will then remove the shock, and based on how big that shock is, that's how hard you will hit the enemy. And to avoid it being used in something like cast on damage taken or cast on crit, there's a line here that says, this spell's cast time is added to its cooldown if triggered. However, Castwell channeling support is not a cooldown-based support. It is actually just a trigger itself. So since there is 0 cooldown, but Castwell channeling is a trigger, the Lightning Conduit cast time is the cooldown. So you can see I have a 0.31 cooldown time on my Lightning Conduit, and I have Castwell channeling here at 0.34. I actually want to get that to 0.32. I want to keep it a little bit higher just so I don't have to worry about any like tick rate nonsense. I'm okay losing 0.01 cast per second. So you can see while I'm channeling Lightning Tendies, if you look around the edge here, you can see kind of like a little bit of an AoE that comes out. I need mana to do it though. Like you see this little like flourish. That's actually Lightning Conduit being triggered. I'm using Lightning Tendrils right now, but you can also use Stormburst or Divine Ire very easily. That is what is going to be doing the initial shock. And then immediately after that, every 0.34 seconds currently, we'll be triggering our Lightning Conduit, which will pull the shock off. And then Lightning Tendrils will go on and apply the shock again. Apply the shock with Tendrils, and then pull it off with Lightning Conduit. And since I am propagating my shocks by default, the AoE on Lightning Tendrils isn't that bad because the shocks will propagate. And then Lightning Conduit actually, as you can see, has a very large AoE, which will then pull off the shock and blow up the entire screen. The other thing to note about this build, it's not done whatsoever. I'm throwing a lot of money at it as well. I'm not really caring about the money at this point. We're basically just trying to figure out what actually feels good. It felt decent, honestly, with no money invested, but the real big thing to keep in mind is that Castwell channeling is a 30% less damage modifier. We're basically on double 3 links, so that's obviously also hurting our damage quite a bit. The damage in this will never compete with self-cast. It just can't. That's the way the math lines up. But it does feel really, really good. So I'll show you really quick what it looks like with Lightning Tendrils, and I think it feels pretty fine. Well, here we get some invincible mobs at first. You know, as you can see, the AoE is not very big, but I can kind of just like spin around and it'll pop the entire screen pretty comfortably. I do have to get a little bit close to monsters to like really clear the whole screen. And I do want to scale some more AoE. Ooh, Aracali touched. Look at all my loot. I do want to scale the AoE a good amount more so Tendies feels better. But I don't think it's too bad, right? I can just kind of shield charge forward and spin in a circle with the Tendies. And especially with Lightning Conduit and the shock propagation, it clears pretty darn well. Like, I can clear the whole screen pretty decently. And then we'll show you with a T16 boss here. I think my overall DPS right now is something like, it's like 8 million, 8 or 9 million or something like that. It's not bad. The real key here is I want to make it be able to stand still and not worry about damage whatsoever. Just like defensively be very, very tanky. And I think that's in a cool contrast to how we're seeing a lot of people building Lightning Conduit. And then I'll just quickly show you a couple alternatives here. So Stormburst is actually really, really cool. And I'm using Divergent Stormburst, which has 40% increased AoE while it's channeling, which is really, really nice. We can hit the whole screen like full on, full screen clear really, really comfortably. However, you'll notice when I'm using this, you don't really get that Lightning Conduit trigger until the balls start bouncing around. That's because there's a little bit of a delay. Stormburst doesn't do damage right away. It takes a little bit until it starts jumping to actually be able to do damage. And so until it does damage, you're not shocking, and then Lightning Conduit doesn't do anything. So that can be a little bit uncomfortable, but it does have way better full screen clear. And it's, I actually think it's pretty, pretty sexy if you ask me. So it's pretty cool. I think this is actually just my preferred setup when it comes to clearing the entire screen. And, is it as good as a bow build? No, but it's pretty darn good. Like, for a self-cast spell, especially, Stormburst, it's pretty cool because, like, you get the Lightning Conduit that's really making up for Stormburst kind of, like, clunky single-target damage. And especially since we're using Stormstrider, or Shaper of Storms, we don't even care at all about the fact that we're doing physical damage instead of lightning here. It does a great job of just whatever damage you're doing. I could be doing chaos damage, and we'd still be shocking with it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you could just kind of hold down right-click, spin your mouse in a circle, and you're just popping the whole screen. An other alternative you really prefer is Divine Ire. Oops, we want to keep that. And the cool thing about Divine Ire is you see it has this AoE around me that actually is shocking and doing a little bit of damage. So you can kind of just stand there. It doesn't even matter where you're aiming. And you'll be shocking and clearing the screen like that. It can be kind of like nice to not having to worry about aiming whatsoever for hitting monsters behind you. As you can already tell, like the damage from that is pretty low. But the single target hit from the Divine Ire itself is pretty good. Hopefully, let's let this one hit. Oh, Empowered Elements. Well, it's not going to do any damage. Thanks, Archnemesis. All right, a bunch of garbage I'm not going to pick up. But yeah, usually the single target burst from the Divine Ire will be pretty chunky, and so that can be pretty nice for like clearing out rares and magic monsters further away. There you go. That's a better demonstration of it. This is the anti-RSI version of Lightning Conduit. Lightning Conduit with the 2-button play style, the way everyone's playing it. If you want the most damage, that is going to be the way. This will be higher investment to even be comfortable for bossing, really. But I think it is just going to be a more comfortable play style. It fits how I like to play the game a little bit better. And I think it's a pretty cool setup. Not to mention, there's a lot of stuff that I'm working on in the background here. What I really want to do is use Phantasmal Tendies. You can see here, the way that Tendies works is every 4 pulses is actually a big, stronger one. And with Phantasmal, it gets up to 250% at 20% quality. And if I switch to an Ashes of the Stars, that'll go up to 750% more damage on the pulses on the Tendies. That'll actually make the single target pretty notable, which I think will be pretty cool. And I'm going to play around with that a little bit later. But anyway, this is just my own personal vanity project fun thing that I'm working on. Might be something you want to play around with if you're already in the Lightning Conduit world. But yeah, anyway, that's my week 2 update for Path of Exile for 3.19. Thank you everyone for watching. Also, huge thank you. We've had a flood of new patrons in the past few days, and I can't say thank you enough. You guys are absolutely incredible, and it's definitely made being sick and not being able to stream or make videos a lot easier. So thank you so much to all of you guys and all of you for just watching and subscribing and making this all possible. So yeah, hope to catch you on stream a little bit later today, and I'm gonna go make some tea. All right, catch y'all later. Goodbye.